it's time to fly to Europe, where Peter Kern, CEO of Expedia Group is. He's on a business trip, so that's rather encouraging. Let's find out how he's getting Expedia into tip-top form to shape the future. So please welcome Peter. Hello, Peter. Big round of applause here, Peter, from our physical audience here. And where are you? Whereabouts are you in Europe?
I wish I were there.
Whereabouts are you in Europe?
I'm in Tuscany, in Italy.
Wow. Okay. Enjoying your holiday, clearly. All right. So,
Just a couple days at the end of a business trip.
So what were you doing in Europe? Is there anything you can share with us in terms of what business you were conducting?
Sure. I was in the UK, in London, and London is incredibly open right now. I would say the most open place I've been to. Pubs were busy, theaters were open, no one was wearing masks. It was pretty incredible. But I was seeing, we have a big office in London, and we were seeing our travel partners there. So I spent last week very productively in London. It was really energizing to see a city coming back like that.
Right, that's incredible progress. Whereas in Asia, we remain still pretty shut down. So is there a message that you want to share with our audience here? Because we have a live audience here, but it's still, with a lot of restrictions.
Yeah, I think it was very hopeful for me. I mean, we're all on this journey together, and different places are at different stages, but it gives you a sense of what's possible. And I think from our perspective, we're going to be living with COVID. It's not going to be a switch we turn off. So every inch we make forward in terms of how we learn to live with it, how cities adapt to it, of course, how we protect ourselves, but how we also open up and start to live our lives, for me is encouraging. So I think, London is a good example of being further ahead. Many places in the U.S. are doing well. I think vaccines are kept, are very high vaccination rates in parts of Western Europe, and some parts of Asia and APAC as well. But I think there's a path forward, and we're just slowly making our way there. And it's really encouraging when you see it make steps forward.
Fantastic. And the best news for us, is the leading role that I think the US, is basically opening up on November, is it 8th or 10th, where all vaccinated travelers can enter without quarantine. So that's really, do you think that that's the best model for reopening and that more countries should follow that model?
Well, I think the travel industry in the U.S. has been trying to encourage the U.S. government for a long time to open up to vaccinated travelers. Every country has its share of vaccinated and unvaccinated. And if we can live with the unvaccinated in our own countries, surely we can live with the vaccinated from other countries. I think the challenge has been, of course, every government has wanted to protect its people. There have been structural issues. Which vaccines do different governments trust? And how are you going to monitor the vaccines, and are there tests and all of those things? But I think opening up the channels where you can to vaccinated travelers who are just as safe as our own vaccinated people, I think is definitely a model to get our industry back going while we vaccinate the rest of the world.
Right. So we are talking about, scrapping quarantine arrangements and all that, and at the beginning there were lots of doomsayers saying that everything will change after this, and I believe that you and Barry Diller were more on the nothing camp, that you felt that really things will go back to normal when this is over. So having now traveled a fair bit, what is your thinking on that? Like, what will change and what will not?
Yeah, well, I think London's a good example. When COVID started, many in the industry were saying cities wouldn't come back or would be the last thing to come back. And I can tell you it does not look that way in London. And I never believed that was true. The great cities of the world always attract people in large numbers. And it's just a question of safety and a question of what's open and what there is to do. Theaters, again, are open in London. All the restaurants are open. So there's reasons to be, museums, et cetera, reasons to be back in London. I think we've seen that We've seen some changes in leisure travel as people have gone to more domestic locations, maybe found more outdoors places because it seems safer. We've certainly seen the vacation rental boom as another use case that felt very safe to people. And Vrbo, in our case, did extremely well during COVID. But I think in general, we believe the trends will come back. The normal patterns of leisure travel, kids are back in school in the West, and that, of course, changes the, travel patterns. People will be back in some kind of work. I heard a piece of the debate before, but I think at least some of us will be in the office some of the time, and many of us will be in the office a lot of the time. So people will be tethered to their home cities, and that will all go back to normal. I think corporate probably has the biggest chance to be different, but as some of your panelists just said, it may be different, but we think it will still be significant and significantly like it was before in the sense of volumes, because again, maybe there will be less internal travel, maybe some sales travel and other things won't happen, but many conferences or corporate gatherings will have to happen to keep the culture going. So from our perspective, everything that has been open to return to normal basically has, and I think that trend will continue.
Excellent. So, if you have any questions to ask of Peter, you can WhatsApp me, 96924989. So I want to also talk about, I want to ask the audience a poll, and I'm going to ask you that question too. It's like, what can we in the travel industry do to spur recovery, right? Should we give an extra week off for all staff in 2022? Should we give travel vouchers for vaccinated customers, or should we offer family and friends deals for employees? So please take part in the poll. What do you think we can do beyond, your vaccination program? So what do you think we can do, Peter?
I'm not sure any of those are high on my list, although we did give the week off between Christmas and New Year's last year. I'm sure time off will certainly help people travel. But I think the best thing we can do as an industry is just work with our local governments, help customers understand how to travel. A number of your panelists were talking about the challenges and the friction. The reality is it's not that hard. I went to London. You take a test after day 2. It's simple. You send it in. It's not a big deal. Some of these things seem daunting, but I think the more clear we can be about with customers about what they're going to get, what the experience is going to be like. We've seen all the challenges in travel of hiring enough staff. Hotels around the globe are struggling to hire enough cleaning people, restaurant people, et cetera. So it's really important that people just understand the experience, and we remember that these people want to travel. There's no question. There's a huge pent-up demand for travel. So I don't think it's about helping them. I think it's about helping them do it well and feel comfortable, and then people will go everywhere.
Right. So the Expedia today is kind of different from the one that you took over in 2019, right? So can I ask you, is one of the changes, what are you thinking about subscriptions? So we have a question from the audience here. Subscriptions seem to be, all the rage. What's your take on them? And can we expect to see something along these lines from Expedia?
Yeah, so we watch it and we're interested, but I would say that our view is that our loyalty programs in general are richer than any subscription program out there. And as you may have seen, we announced that we're going to be consolidating our loyalty programs across our brands into one global loyalty program that all our brands are part of. And that will allow us to simplify the loyalty program, allow customers to earn rewards and use those rewards across any product group that we have, which is essentially every product in the travel industry, basically. So we think that's going to be hugely powerful. And I think if you look under the hood at most of the subscription programs, the savings you can get, the other things you can get are really available to you without a subscription from people like us. So we feel like we have an extremely rich program. We haven't done a terrific job in every case of helping customers understand it all. The super users get really good at it, as happens in most rewards programs. But I think there's a lot of value there, and we believe that that's the best way to get the most value to the most customers, and that's what we plan to do.
All right, so you've said that you have the fastest way to end this pandemic and for us to return to travel safely is through vaccination, which is why Expedia has pledged $10 million for global vaccination efforts in August, right? So can you share what tangible impact this has had?
Well, I know we helped vaccinate millions of people. We supported UNICEF, and we encouraged our customers to, book with us on our app, and we would contribute to UNICEF on their behalf. So, we vaccinated millions and millions of people that I hope are safe, and as a result, survive the pandemic in a much better way. Look, we're not political about this. The science shows that the vaccine have been incredibly effective. We know that the longer there are unvaccinated people in the world, the more mutations we'll see. And while I don't think they will, it's always an opportunity to have something that is, that the vaccines are less effective against. So I think the faster we can get out to the entire world, and the governments of wealthier countries are contributing to the effort, but we all have to do what we can. And so we at Expedia felt like we had to do something. We're a global travel company. We believe in people traveling the world and being together. And to do that, we're going to have to get past this in a material way. And the West has been fortunate, and parts of APAC, but many parts of the world have not. And we have to all do our part to help.
Right. So will you be extending this program past September? I think it was up to September. Will you extend it to the end of the year?
No, well, we didn't extend it. We encouraged many other companies that are a lot more fortunate than the travel industry to try to help. I reached out to hundreds of CEOs of companies that have had a better time than us in the travel industry. But we will continue to look for ways to help impact this in the most powerful way we can. It was a start. We were committed to it, but we believe in the effort, and we will do everything we can to help drive it. Within the bounds of travel recovery and all the other things, we're all faced with managing. But I think even as challenged as our industry is, we all have an interest in making sure, or doing whatever we can. And if that's an airline helping airlift vaccines around the world, which many have done, other companies have helped create vaccine centers and other things. So I think anything any of us can do is worthwhile, and we're trying to do whatever we can.
Right. So sustainability has been a big topic. Andrew was speaking earlier too, and talking about a survey that Expedia did that talked about, that customers were willing to pay more for sustainable travel options. So, what is your view on, how do you surface more sustainable travel options for your customers?
Yeah, I think clearly there's an interest in it, and I think our position as a global marketplace is, in fact, to create that transparency, to allow customers to discover what choices are more sustainable, how they can make choices that are better for the globe. And the issue has really been just creating the standards within the industry. There are no great standards. The 5-star approach to rating hotels has been around a long time, but there is no star approach to rating sustainability. We've done some efforts with UNESCO. They're modest so far, but we'd like to expand them. But really, we're looking for a way to give customers clarity, so that if there's a rating system, a point system, a star system, we can give them clarity on how sustainable things are and let them make choices that are well informed. And I do believe that the marketplace will continue to be willing to spend somewhat more to make sustainable choices, and that will drive the industry to make the right in terms of our sustainable future.
Right. So you've talked about, you're pretty bullish on almost all aspects of travel, but which area of travel are you most down on right now?
Well, I'm not really down on anything. I think, we're seeing the lag that comes from not having as much international long-haul air travel. It impacts airlines, of course, and particularly airlines that are heavily dependent on international. It has impacted cities, I believe, because you haven't had the same international travel into big cities across the globe. So those have lagged. And of course, we've seen corporate lagging. And I think until we're all much more back in the office, that will continue. We're all seeing signs of all of those things improving. So it's following the same trends of improvement. They're just lagging behind. So I think it'll just take somewhat longer. But I think by the beginning into the middle of next year, I think travel levels will be quite high across everything. And by the back half of next year, I think corporate travel will be significantly back. The cities will be back next summer. I think see all these things get up.
That's really bullish. So pre-2019, Expedia was a major force in the APAC, right? You had like $1 billion business in Japan. You had a joint venture with AirAsia. You still have a stake in Traveloka, and COVID definitely has forced you to become much more US centric. So when will you rebuild in APAC, and how will you rebuild?
Yeah, I don't think we've become more US centric. I think what's happened is as the world became more domestically focused, the business trends followed that. And so, the US was early and strong, and we were fortunate to be large in the US. But international, as I said, has struggled somewhat. And in many of these destinations, including in APAC, we have a significant international business. And that business has been hurt more than domestic travel, where, frankly, we were not as strong as we'd like to be. So I think, we learned a lot during COVID, but more or less we followed, our business followed the trends of the business, and where we were strong domestically, we were extremely strong. And where we were strong internationally, we suffered more. And I think international, as we saw from the US opening on November 8th and Singapore opening channels and other places, international will be coming back. It's going to be the next big thing, and we think that'll be really good for our business. But we expect that business to build back in APAC, and we certainly have a lot of learnings that we'll build on in terms of how we want to attack the domestic opportunity in APAC, in Europe, and other places.
But do you feel that you've lost significant ground to players that are based in Asia, and whether it's the local players, or to a let's say Agoda that's based in Thailand, that's actually boots on the ground? Do you feel that you've lost ground to those players?
I think there's always opportunity for players who know a market extremely well to create business for themselves there. I think there's equally opportunity for us. We have the great strength of our technical infrastructure, our data, that's bigger than anyone's collection of data in the world in travel. And I think we can use that to create great outcomes for customers anywhere in the world. And we have to do more to focus on understanding and marketing to local markets and making sure they understand our value proposition. And certainly if somebody's only focused in one place and a company like ours is focused in many, we may not be doing as good a job as some others, but we have the opportunity to do a better job than almost anybody. And that's, within our gift, and we intend to do that. So markets that make sense for us, where we think we have great value to the consumer and create great opportunities for them to travel, we want to be a really impactful player in all those markets, and we will continue to drive that. But I think we all have to realize that COVID, drove certain outcomes that were beyond our control. So if you were a great corporate travel company, what could you do in COVID other than wait, right? You couldn't fight the trends. And the same is true in international. If the corridors don't open up and the planes don't fly, we can't sell that international travel. So I think we have to wait for everything to return to more normal, and we will see how the business shakes out. And then, yes, we have ambition in APAC, we have ambition all over the world, and we will continue to pursue that.
Okay, so we're going to wrap up with rapid fire. I'm curious, right? You're so far up the ladder. Do people ever ask you this? How did you get your first job?
I got an interview out of college and at a few banks, and one of them gratefully hired me. That was my first job.
Okay. Which part of your job would you like to do more of?
Not including my summer jobs where I...
Okay, you had some... Okay, which part of your job...
what was the question? I'm sorry.
Okay, the question is, which part of your job would you like to do more of now?
Oh, wow. That's a good question. I don't know. I think I'm doing the things I want to be doing, focused on the things I want to be doing. I'd like to be able to travel to more of our offices. I'd like to be in Singapore. I'd like to be in Kern. I'd like to be in other places where we have lots of employees. I've been fortunate to get to many, but I'd like to be able to get to more.
Okay, well, we'll welcome you on your first trip to Asia, hopefully in the first quarter of next year. I'm being optimistic. What is the best purchase that you've made for remote work?
A new iPad I got in the middle of COVID. That helped.
All right. What is the first play, concert, or theater you attended as soon as you could?
Haven't been to one yet, but I'd like to go see James Bond.
All right, no time to die. Thank you, Peter. Thank you for joining us. Enjoy your holiday in
Thank you.
Tuscany or Italy. Thank you
Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you.